I'm Amira Davis, mom of 3, wife, daughter, sister, and a business owner with my husband. But this right here, this is mine, and it matters because every woman deserves a place that's just hers. If you've ever felt yourself changing and wondered who you're becoming, pull up a chair. We're getting honest about all of it, the shifts, the questions, the stuff we usually keep quiet. Welcome in. What if I told you that the relentless pressure to 10 times your business every year is not only unnecessary, but it's actually working against you? Today's guest, Kimberly DeCarrera, walked away from high-growth corporate life because she saw firsthand how unsustainable strengths and strategies burn people out and drain your bank accounts. Now, as a fractional general counsel and CFO, she's helping business owners grow in ways that actually support their lives. If you're tired of feeling like your business owns you instead of the other way around, this conversation will shift how you think about success. I'm Amira Davis, and this is the Shifted Podcast, where we have honest conversations about navigating the beautiful complexities of midlife. So you know that there's this narrative in business that if you're not constantly scaling, if you're not hitting those aggressive growth targets, you're somehow failing. I was actually feeling like that last night. Like last night I was having a moment, but I think this hits us especially hard when you're in midlife. For people who are building businesses, who are also managing aging parents, we've got teenagers, some of us do, older kids, our own changing bodies, and our shifting priorities. But what if that narrative is completely wrong? What if sustainable growth that doesn't require you to sacrifice your health, your relationships, or your sanity is actually the smarter path? Welcome to the Shifted Podcast, Kimberly.
Thank you.
Let's start with our ritual. What are you raising a glass to today? Anything good?
I am raising my glass to tax, being over tax season, right? Clients have their returns and we are good for another year. Here's to tax season being done.
That is great. Raise a glass to that one. I've got my sensory drinks. These are so good. They're non-alcoholic drinks that are they've got like mushrooms and things in them. And so I love stuff like that. So.
Yeah. I have been stuck on the V8 energy drinks lately.
V8 like tomato juice?
No, they're like fruit juices. Like this one that I drank today was strawberry banana.
Okay. I love that.
So,
all right. So tell us a little bit about your journey from high growth corporate and agency life to starting Springboard Legal, which is your company.
Yeah. So, oh my God, let's see. We're going to back up a little bit to when I was in-house and I was working for a logistics company during the pandemic. We all know how crazy logistics was during that time. We tripled the size of the company. We added more offices and locations, people, and it literally burned me out. When I left that company, I had migraines and everything, just poor health. I was done, right?
Yeah.
So after that, I also worked with a coaching agency that worked with law firms that really stressed, 10xing your revenue. And I saw that wasn't always what was best for companies, right? It wasn't good for the founders or the employees. It put unnecessary stress. And so when I left that agency and went out on my own, it became how do we make it sustainable, right? How do we not burn out while we're growing our companies? How do we not run out of cash, right? When we're scaling, when we are growing rapidly, that's a very risky time for companies because you're reinvesting your money, but you're hiring, you're doing marketing, you've got operations and like technology upgrades. If it's all not timed right, you're spending money that you don't need to, and you're going to run out of it.
Absolutely.
So it was a mix of, experiencing and watching others and personal burnout that made me change how I'm growing my company and how I'm advising other people to grow theirs.
I love that. And so by trade, what do you do?
Yeah, so I am a lawyer and I am a finance pro. So I work as a fractional general counsel and a fractional CFO for companies. So I don't know how many people are familiar with the fractional. It's kind of been a little bit of a buzzword lately, but I take fewer clients so I can have more in-depth relationships and really focus on strategy and things like that so that they're getting the best, they're getting the experience, right? Smaller companies can get that experience, that knowledge that I have, but they're not paying for me full time because either they don't have the need for me full time or they don't have the budget for me.
Right.
Right. So it still helps them grow without having me inside their company full time. And also, if you don't have enough work for me, the last thing you want is to have a lawyer losing your company.
That's very true. That's very true. That's very true. So when you talk about burnout and that whole realm, especially during COVID, what was the moment that you realized that the strategies that you were seeing weren't really sustainable?
I think it was a town hall meeting where the CEO got up there and said, everybody is replaceable, right? That had a really big impact on a lot of the staff. I tried to walk it back quite a bit when I had my time during the town hall, but turnover is expensive. And watching them talk about culture and how great their culture was when it was burning people out. People were quitting without new jobs lined up
Yeah.
because it was so toxic.
Takes a toll. It definitely takes a toll on your body. So how did that realization change how you approach your own company, your own business?
Number one is that from a P&L, staff is typically our largest expense. But if you look at the balance sheet, they're our greatest asset. And we forget that so often where we don't really focus on the people and how well they are doing, because our staff, our team members are typically the ones that are going to have the frontline contact with our customers.
Yeah.
And so if they are happy and they're productive, then we're going to be better overall as an entity.
Yeah. That's the mindset I wish so much more people, had. But so when we talk about this, and you kind of touched on it a little bit with the basics, you kind of touched on what sustainable growth actually means, but what does it actually mean in today's business world?
So sustainable growth. When you hear business coaches or advisors talking or marketing experts talk about 10xing your company, right? It is very difficult to 10x, right? To go from $100,000 to $1 million, to go from $1 million to 10 million, right? Those are big numbers, right? That creates a lot of chaos within a company. Most people cannot do that year over year over year.
Okay.
Right? It's not sustainable, right? It's something that you don't have the energy, you don't have the resources. You just can't hire fast enough and train people, right? Systems are going to break.
Yeah.
And so right now, sustainable growth to me is something that it's going to not have as great of leaps and bounds, right? But it's something that we can continue for the long term.
Okay. I love that. Especially being a business owner, I'm always thinking, how can we make our business how can we make it grow? How can we make it better? How can we make it bigger? And, in the back of our minds, we're always it's kind of beaten to our heads that you have to grow year over year. You have to go exponentially. And, most businesses don't make it for the first 5 years. And so, I think that's just the mindset that we have. And maybe that needs to change a little bit to be able to have more sustainable growth. Might make sense. So you mentioned that founders can design their business to fit their life, which I actually love very much. What does that look like from a practical standpoint? That makes you happy.
So it does, right? So, just yesterday, I was on a call with a brand new client and we're setting up our recurring calls. And, he's like, I want to do it in the morning because that's when I have the best energy, but I can't do it too early because I have to drop my kid off at school. And so it's a very good example of, look, we're going to work when you've got the best energy, right? Time of day, time of the week, but we're also going to do it around your life. We encourage, parents to take that active role in their kids' lives.
Yeah.
Me personally, come fall, I will block off Friday afternoons, right? And I will not be available because I will be taking my RV to the football tailgate and I'll spend the whole weekend at the football game.
Yeah.
So it is managing those different things so that, whatever life looks like, if you're taking care of kids or parents, if you're trying to save for college, save for retirement, have time for political activism or volunteer work, whatever it is that is your life outside of your job, right? Outside of your business,
Yeah.
then we want the business to support that life so that we design the business around our life instead of designing our life around our business.
I love that. I love that. So when we go a little bit deeper into the business part of it, do you see any resistance when, or at all, when people typically encounter, like, I need to 10 times every year? Does that mindset make people think, no, that's actually not the case? Like, what do you see when it comes to pushback?
Typically, I see more relief than anything else.
Mm, yeah.
It's like giving somebody permission to not burn out, particularly for women, right? Where most of the house and child rearing and all of those responsibilities fall on us. It is harder to grow a business while you're doing all of those things than it is for, a man that has that wife at home that's taking care of, the house
Yep.
and family and everything. So, it's permission to say, I don't have to do this.
Yeah.
Right? I can grow at my own rate. We don't have to subscribe to the hustle culture, even within our own businesses.
Yeah. Do you feel like Gen X is really big on that? I feel like our generation is so big on the hustle culture. It's like we've been taught we need to keep going, keep going, keep going, put your head down and just keep going until you kind of pass out, make yourself sick, do whatever. I think that's like my kids, my youngest is 23. He's not like that at all. He's like, that's not the way I want to live my life. I'm like, what do you mean? That's what we've always been conditioned to do. And he's like, no, it's not. So I see that a lot with Gen X.
I agree. I think that I've learned a lot from the younger generations that are now coming up. I mean, the first time that an employee, when I made a request for them to work after hours, and they just said, no explanation, no
Yeah.
like anything. And I was like, first, I was taken aback because no one ever tells somebody in the C-suite just no, right? And I was like, how dare you? But then I was like, took another breath and was like, props. Good for
Yeah.
you for standing up
Yes.
for like your boundaries.
I think that's
Yeah.
great.
So yeah, it is more of a problem or an issue. I'm not even gonna say problem, an issue with Gen X and, and even some of the boomers that I still am working with.
Yeah.
Because more than anything, they don't want to retire. Like, go enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Yeah, exactly. So how do you help clients shift from that growth at all costs mindset? Like that's got to be a hard one to get that shift.
I start with what do you want your life to look like in 5
Okay.
years, in 10 years?
Yeah.
What are you working towards? Are you trying to do early retirement? You want to sell your business? Do you want to be an angel investor? Like, what does your life look like in 10 years, 20
Mhm.
years, whatever the time frame is? And then I say, what do we need to do to get your business there to support that? Right. And then we can do some modeling, like financial models to say, okay, you only need to 2x every year, right? Which is still a big leap for some people.
Yeah.
Maybe it's 2x, these first couple of years, and then we just do like, 50% growth,
Okay.
30%
Yeah.
growth.
Yeah.
But it really gets down to that financial model say, you don't have to do that when they see it in Excel or Google Sheets that show them, hey, we can make this work, fund everything you want without having to grow that much.
So that's kind of how you walk somebody through that as a general counsel and a CFO. You kind of have the best of both worlds when it comes to growing a business. I need to make an appointment with you.
Right.
So I was talking to a friend today who owns a gym and she was saying the same thing. And
Mhm.
I was like, you know what? It's just interesting with all the things that we're doing with the podcast, meeting all these great, wonderful women who've got so many different skill sets. And then you can connect people. I know somebody here, I know somebody there. So I think that's one of the things that I really enjoy doing. I've already got people in the back of my head who are like, they need to have conversations with you. So
Great.
what do you see as the most common legal and financial mistakes in unsustainable growth strategies?
Let's see. So from the legal perspective, it is typically the compliance issues, right? So your employee handbook's not ready, or tax like registrations, so that with all your remote employees, you're not doing all of that right. Following all of as you expand and add additional offices, you're not following all the local laws, right? So that compliance issue is a very big deal for most businesses. And then from a financial standpoint, I would say it is, if you're investing in a lot of marketing to get new customers or clients, right? But then you're not ready to actually do the work. You can't provide the service, right? And that could include not having the team members. When you mistime that expenditure for your marketing, for your hiring, for your operations.
And that's hard. I know, I always go back to myself just to relate to what I'm doing. I remember when we started scaling a little bit and we were at the point where we needed help. And I said to my husband, I think we need an assistant, and I don't know what that looks like. And I don't even know what to do. And it would have been great to know that there would have been an option to have somebody to float this off of and say, what are your thoughts on this? Or maybe we should be doing something else. So I think it's great. So how do you help business owners make decisions to protect both their business, but also their well-being? Because I think that's the part that, we always say with the burnout, like you're big on that too.
Right. Years ago, I heard a speaker that was talking about what financial stress does to your mental well-being, right? And thus your physical well-being. And when you drop the financial stress, you're like going to improve your mental and physical well-being. And so, one of the best things that I do to help owners is forecasting, right? Financial models. So cash flow is a big one. And it's knowing, for example, that that there's going to be money in the bank for payroll next week and the week after and next month, the next quarter. Right. And so doing that forecasting, and that you can pay your bills while you are growing, is probably the number one thing I can do for your personal well-being.
Yeah. Absolutely. Because it does take a ton of stress. It's a ton, making sure that, especially as you're growing, more people are relying on you and more things are happening that it's a big one. So as someone who handles both the legal and the financial aspects, can you just touch on, like, high level, what are the most critical systems a business needs to have in place to have any kind of sustainable growth?
So, I kind of touched on before, right, is the marketing engine that's going to drive new customers and repeat customers, right? A lot of the marketing is to repeat customers, but you need the marketing engine, you need the operations engine to actually get the work done, and you need the team members that are going to do the work for you. If you have those three systems or segments all growing, and building with you, right, then you can have that sustainable.
And you talk a lot about, so as you're having these conversations, you're talking about burnout. Is it more like a therapeutic discussion about burnout, or is it more like, I don't want you to burn out, so let's do this on the business side so that you don't?
I'm going to give you the favorite lawyer answer of it depends. And that's going to vary based off of the individual client that I'm working with, right? So when people come to me, some of them are coming at very early stages. They haven't hit burnout. They're fine, but they want to learn how to do it without making the mistakes that other people make. That's the ideal situation of when you come to me.
Yeah.
Other people come to me when they've already been growing and they are tired, right? They're burnt out. They're ready to burn the business to the ground.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it is just how I approach it depends on where the business owner, the founder, or executive team, where they are right now, right? I'm very much a meet my clients where they are type of person and advisor, rather than you have to fit in these little boxes and I'm going to do the framework that way.
I love that. So you're way more fluid, which is what I think everybody's business needs, because not everybody's the same. So just to kind of end this, can you share an example of how you've helped a client redesign their business model to be more sustainable without sacrificing their profitability?
Yeah. So I work with a lot of law firms, right? That is a big segment of my clientele. And so right now, there are a couple of different strategies or business models. Like, we're in transition, right? Everybody's doing the AI thing. And so how do we transform and use this as a tool to make our teams more efficient, more productive? So, how do we balance that technology with our team?
Yeah.
So that's a big part of it. But also, there's another kind of theme that we're seeing as AI and technology becomes more predominant in our practices. We need to change our pricing models, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Typically, lawyers have worked off of the billable hour, right?
Yeah.
A lot of consultants, CPAs, everybody has priced based off of time.
Yeah.
And we need to switch that to more of a value billing, right?
Yeah.
Flat fee model, subscription models, things like that. So really transforming the way that lawyers are pricing their services and
Yeah.
delivering their services.
Yeah, that's true. Because a lot of people with AI just think that they can just do it all that way, and that's not the case. You need an actual person.
You need actual people. You need to train them, right?
Yeah.
Not just the AI models need to be trained, but the people that are using them need to be trained, right? And prompting and reviewing the output. Like we all have seen the headlines, right? About how AI hallucinates cases and then they're put in briefs and the courts go crazy. That's on the lawyers not being trained how to review the output.
Yeah.
Right. So we need to have training for the models, for the people, right? Supervision of the whole process. And another thing that I'm really concerned about is not just training the lawyers of today on how to use AI and manage it. It's training the lawyers of tomorrow, right? That won't have the base experience to be able to review the output, to know what to ask the AI models.
Yeah.
To get the right answers.
Right. Right. Because AI is only as good as you give the information to. And my husband's in law enforcement, and he was just having this conversation at a conference that he was at, and they were talking about report writing. And just there were people, not in our area, but there were people that they'd had case studies for that were writing reports, and it was hallucinating about what they were wearing. It was hallucinating about, what kind of car they were driving, which doesn't sound like a big deal. But then you get in court, and if that information is wrong, based on what you did, then what happens? So yeah, it's a much bigger deal than I think people assume that it is. So I don't know how we're going to put controls on that at all. So let me ask you this. If you could go back and tell your corporate self one thing about sustainable growth, what would it be?
I would probably tell myself it doesn't have to be this way.
Yeah.
Logistics is a very male dominated bro type of industry. And so, you're surrounded by people that, their value as a business is measured on if you're on the Inc. 500 fastest.
Yeah.
Right. Whether it be for the industry or just overall. But it doesn't matter if 2 years later you're out of business. And, so you can burn bright and burn out very fast. And I don't want to work that hard to not have something at the end of it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very true. That's very true. I like that very much. Kimberly, this was really good. What do you have left for me? Because we usually end with a journal prompt, but I want you to, if there's anything that you haven't said that you'd like to say, tell me what it is.
More than anything, it's not that I haven't said it, but it's to reiterate the point that you don't have to listen to everybody, right? You don't have to build your business like the marketing bros are telling you, right? There's another way to do it. You can be ethical. You can do it your way, right? And you can still continue to grow, but you can have fun, not be stressed out. I mean, yes, it's still hard work, right? But you can make it so that it works for you.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. So, like I said, we always end with a journal prompt. And this one we have for today is, what would your business look like if it was designed to support your life rather than consume it?
My business is going to look exactly like it does now.
Because you designed it that way.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah. Really good.
So for other people that are just maybe starting this design process, right? is think about, how do you want to show up, right? When do you want to show up? That's a big one. I mean, we were talking earlier about the younger generations that really have their boundaries in place. One of the things that I do now is I very rarely work on the weekends, right? It's
Okay.
because I want to, because I've got nothing else going on and it's raining outside and whatever,
Yeah.
right? But one of the earliest things that I did is I put that boundary in place so that I have time to mentally turn my brain off.
Yeah.
So that I can rest and recharge.
Yeah.
What are the priorities in your life about who do you want to show up for? How do you want to show up for them?
Yeah.
Right. And that is, start with those questions.
Mhm.
And once you have those answers, you start to design your business.
I love that. So, Kimberly, if somebody wanted to work with you, how would they get in touch with you?
The best way is going to be through my website at springboardlegal.com. Just go to the contact page and submit an inquiry there, and we will then get back with you. But you can also find me on LinkedIn and Instagram, and my favorite lately has been Threads.
Me too.
Yeah. So that's actually how we got connected here. So social media is also a great way. Email, admin at springboardlegal.com if that is your preferred way. But those are, and I'm hopefully soon we'll have some YouTube stuff going up by the end of the month.
Okay, great. So we'll put all that in the show notes for people to be able to reach out to you. And you can mention that you found us on the Shifted podcast, and that'd be great if anybody wanted to work with you. Do they need to be in any state, or does it matter where they are?
So for CFO work, it does not matter what state it is. For the general counsel, there may be some limitations because of licensing, right? So, but because I am growing my company, right, I'm not going to say only these couple states because I'm continually hiring attorneys. So yeah, basically whether I can work with you as a fractional general counsel, or I hire somebody to do it that is in your state, or I can also refer it out.
Okay, that's great. So lots of ways to get in touch with you. So we'll put all that in the show notes. And thank you so much for all that information. I think that was a lot that maybe an entrepreneur, business owner might not have been thinking about that maybe we need to start thinking about. So I think this is a really good episode. Like I said, everything will be in show notes. And next, I'm not even sure how we've got people coming back to back. We've met so many people on Threads. So it's really cool with all the great women that we're meeting. Thank you for joining us. And I will be here until next time. And thank you so much.